This is an intro. Intro.
Hustle and Float Chart with your boy, my boy, Matt Wolf and Joe Fier.
Hey.
You ever notice how that's always singular, like my boy,
Yeah.
Matt Wolf and Joe Fier, but there's two of us?
I don't know why. I think we both said that, or was that just me?
I don't know. I think you
Everyone's
said with my
rewinding
boy.
now.
I think you were saying my boy, Matt Wolf,
Mhm.
but I just repeated you, and then it became my boy, Matt and Joe, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but
You know, it happened, and that was recorded how many years ago?
I regret nothing.
nothing, and we changed nothing either.
I actually remember the day we recorded that. We were down in the weird little tiny downstairs thing that you had on that house on the hill.
Yeah, the house
And,
on the hill.
I
still have
remember,
it.
like, we literally turned on our Zoom recorder. I held a mic, you held a mic, you like beatboxed into it. I talked over, and then we like switched off. And then we were
Dude,
just like, all right, we recorded two of those. Let's just roll with them.
And that was legit 5 years ago, or thereabouts.
Over
I
5
don't-
years ago. Yeah, we started in
Dang.
January. So it's 5.5 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, man. That in so many locations we've recorded this podcast in as like home locations too.
Yeah.
You know, man. Now we're in the metaverse, floating around somewhere. Yeah. Visually, we're looking at each other right now because we're in the same room, but looking at through monitors at each other.
Staring
And
each other in the eyes through monitors.
He's getting creepily. I'm getting creepily close to the camera, looking at Matt. But we look like we're in Super Mario Brother. Like what number? No, this is kind of like Mario Brothers, but some other game mashed up
I
together.
think it's just an art piece that
You know,
somebody made, but not an actual game.
I want to jump around and smash some of the yellow blocks because they're probably valuable or something. But yeah, we're doing this podcast and we've done it in many forms and it's evolved in many ways as well. We've done a lot of interviews on this thing, and now with Hard Fork Gaming and what we've been building over here, since we've kind of moved over here away from the entrepreneurial business topics and now into the gaming and metaverse of Web3 and beyond, is we're chatting about the behind the scenes of what we're building as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of content, and it's getting interesting. What you got, Matt?
Yeah, I was just going to say, before we jump into it, make sure you go to hardfork.gg/alpha, join our Alpha Club. Basically what the Alpha Club is, it's our community where we share inside of Discord all of the alpha that we're finding. Some of the alpha that doesn't make our videos, we're sharing it in there because there's just too much alpha to put into every single video we make. So we put that stuff in the Discord. We have an email newsletter that's kind of random at the moment. It's meant to be a weekly newsletter, but at the moment it's kind of like whenever we remember sort of newsletter. But we'll get better about that, I promise.
We're professionals.
And we also have been known to give away free NFTs and do a lot of competitions and giveaways to people in our Hard Fork Alpha Club. So hardfork.gg. Join our Alpha Club. We do ask for some of your wallet addresses, your crypto wallet addresses, but don't worry, it's safe. We can't take anything from your wallets. We can only put stuff in your wallets, so that's a good thing for you. Hardfork.gg/alpha. Also, we're really big on Twitter. We're trying to get our Twitter game up.
We're a big deal. We're like Elon status.
We're trying to get the Twitter game going, right? So I'm Mr. eFlow, almost said my old Twitter name, which is
no, don't dox yourself.
Mr. eFlow is the Twitter handle I go by. Make sure you follow Crypto Buffalo, Hard Fork Gaming, and also Joe
And
Fier.
my name is at Joe Fier on the Twitter. Scape. Yes, the tweeting. It's fun to be over there on Twitter. I don't know where I'm going with that, but go find us, follow us,
Fun
and
to be on Twitter.
Yes, it is. And Hard Fork Gaming's on there as well. Go follow us there. And we're posting basically multiple times daily a bunch of alpha updates about new games and things that you should be involved in and pay attention to. And if you're not on Twitter, by the way, I'm speaking to a lot of y'all marketers and business folks. You probably have a Twitter account, but you haven't used it. You got to go dust that thing off. It's probably been, I don't know, since the last maybe political season when you wanted to throw some stuff around. No, I'm just kidding.
Might need to blow on the cartridge a little bit.
Yeah, dust it off a little bit. It's been a handful of years. Go hop in there. Go follow us and start following some of these projects that we're sharing on the daily over at Hard Fork Gaming, because it's we're ramping up the volume and the frequency of content. That's what we're going to break down on this episode, by the way, is our basically all these crazy experiments we've been doing, and we've turned into a daily content production network and kind of making shows on the fly, and it's really cool. So yeah, we're going to break that down, but go follow us there and on YouTube. And Matt, before we jump into actually breaking down what we're doing, Quick shout outs to a couple partners, and maybe we shout them out alongside in this whole content thing, kind of the blockchain space, Animoca Brands. They're always supporting us and the content network we're doing here. They're always, Animoca Brands specifically, putting out a slew of games and projects as investors and also developers. And you have blockchain space over there doing cool stuff with data and gathering a lot of people together to basically help with the banking side, the financing side, and education side. So really cool things coming out of blockchain space. Do some cool content with them as well. And so keep a lookout for what both of them are putting out into the world, because it's they go big.
They go big or they go home, and they haven't been
going
home yet.
They ain't going home. Home's in the metaverse, and they're building homes, so that's where they're headed.
There you go.
You know it. All right, so Matt, what are we doing here?
Yeah, so last week on our Hustle and Flowchart Live, this one we're actually not live, which we'll get into why we're not live today here in a minute, but we're not live for this one because over the last week, when we did that last episode, we announced that we're going to start doing a daily live show. And so the past week of us trying to prep a daily live show, it's been a little bit more complicated than we thought. There's been some roadblocks, some hurdles that we've run into, and various little things.
A lot of stomps and
Joe beats on his table, and
that's what the week's been like, Matt. That's what I'm
totally.
A lot of oh, come on, man.
But yeah, anyway, so we were trying to actually start going live daily last week. The goal was last Thursday, I think, was supposed to be the first day of our first live, and then on Thursday afternoon, when our package wasn't ready yet, as we like to call them, right? When Joe's package wasn't ready.
Oh wow, me, huh? It was me.
We went, okay, let's make our first daily drop on Friday. By the end of the day on Friday, after running into some hurdles, we went, well, this package isn't quite ready. Let's just start first day next week. So yesterday, which was Monday for us, was the first daily video. And I'm proud to say we've done one daily video every day since.
And I mean, yeah, it's a hell of a record, man. It's a world record. I mean,
two-day streak.
2-day streak. We're on it. And man, dude, yeah, I'm excited. We should have a whole congratulatory speech. I'm sorry I don't have a speech prepared right now for this monumental event. Yeah, Matt, it's been nuts though. This weekend. So 2 days in on content in terms of daily content. We're basically creating an alpha show, like releasing 2 to 3, maybe one more amount of alpha every single day. These stories that we're packaging up into like a minute 30. And it's essentially like this bite-sized deep dive into a project that we think is interesting. And we'll do personal research into this. Some of our alpha scouts who feed us a lot of cool alpha and projects to pay attention to, we're deep diving into those. So, it's like a collaborative kind of thing. We're talking about them here at the studio as well. And we package those up. And the plan is to essentially have, 2, 3, 4 of those things blocked up, stacked together within a, whatever span, a 5-minute span of time. And that's our show. At least that's kind of the idea that we started with.
Really, the best way to describe it would be if you go to hustleandflowchart.tv and watch our most recent video. That's the best way to describe it. So go to hustleandflowchart.tv and watch the most recent video, because that's where you'll find our daily show on there. And you'll see exactly what it is. Like, one of the ways we've tried to describe it, or we've started describing it, is almost like a TMZ type show, where it's just like, here's a quick hit of alpha news, a little bit of banter in between. Here's some alpha, a little bit of banter in between. Here's some alpha, outro, done. That's the whole set. It's just boom, boom, boom. Everything you need to know about the projects we're paying attention to. They're real fast. They're coming out daily. And we wanted to break down a little bit about how we're actually doing that, and, some of the process that happens after we're doing that, and a little bit about, some of the roadblocks that we've run into and some of the little tweaks we've had to make along the way. So, just kind of kicking it off, we wanted to get our first video done on Thursday, but on Thursday we ran into actual network issues, right? One of our computers was not connecting to the network properly, and we actually weren't able to make this collaborative video that we wanted to make because of these connection errors, right? So then on Friday, we spent pretty much all of Friday troubleshooting those connection errors. We figured out a workaround to get past when these network errors happen, so we have a backup way of recording. But by the time we got that all set up, Friday was kind of over. And we're like, okay, well, it's 2 days in a row where we didn't get our show done.
Yeah, it was an S show kind of day.
Yeah.
All the tech was failing, and it was us pulling our hairs out because we had this vision and still have this vision of what we wanted to create, and we just couldn't get it out. You know, we couldn't actually record the thing and then publish. But yes, yesterday.
And it's funny because the way we ended up landing on, we probably could have actually done Thursday with no issues, because the way we're actually doing, so the original plan was we were going to almost act like it was a live show, like we were going LFG live, but we were just going to be real quick with it, right? So we were just going to kind of give all of the alpha and information all in one take, and we were going to try to do all the transitions and scenes and overlays and really cool stuff that you'd see on like ESPN, and we were going to try to do all of that live in real time as you were watching it, right? So that was the original plan, but because of these network issues, there was delays and lags between computers, and we couldn't make it all work out properly. So the way we ended up doing it was we each kind of made our own segment. I made a segment on EVO, Joe made a segment on a game called DeFi, Buff made a segment on Huxley, right? So we each made our own segments, and then what we did was we all came together on the show, and we basically just set up our segment, right? So I would come on and say, hey, I've got a clip for you around EVO, let's roll the clip. And then the clip would roll, and then Joe would say, hey, I got this thing about DeFi, let's roll it. And then it would roll the clip. So we'd set it up. We had a little intro, set up, video, setup, outro, wrap it up. And when we ended up doing it that way and kind of piecing it together, it actually ended up looking a lot more polished, and we didn't actually need any of the like network fixes and stuff that we originally were messing with.
Yeah, man, it's been a process. So like in zooming out for folks who are trying to kind of see where this all fits into what we've been building. So Hard Fork, as a content network, that's essentially what we are. So there's 3 of us in a studio. We have all these computers synced up. We have the highest internet or fastest internet, I think, in San Diego, at least. and so we're running into some of these tech issues as we are building out our content, because you should see what we have in front of us. Like, we're using vMix is the software that we're using on our PCs, and we have multiple monitors everywhere, green screens, I don't know, all this crazy stuff. And yeah, essentially it's running all these different, we're all synced up, and then we're syncing up our screens, and we have different visions of visions of ourselves, but like shots of ourselves on the screen and all these actions. So it's just wild how many things are synced up, so we can kind of record content on the fly and minimize editing as much as possible. That's really our goal, because there's only 3 of us. We do have editors and other awesome folks on the team. I'll shout out Turney, I'll shout out D Moffitt, Demo, and
it is
Jake
funny that we
from
decided
Steak
to
Farm.
start.
Don't cut me off. I'm still thanking our Jake from Steak Farm. Rightly, there you go. There you go, Matt. Carry on, please.
I was going to say, it is funny how we decided to start our daily show literally on the week that our main editor went out of town. But you know what? We did decide to do that. So.
We do. Dude, and we're cranking out content. And here's the thing. So zooming out again, the content schedule, it's not all about us. This is behind the scenes again. Like, you're listening right now to us building in this bear market, and we're essentially, trying to create something using a model and the Web3 community that's out here, and supporting really cool stuff to basically further the space. And our content schedule is now 5 days a week. Every weekday is a daily show, about 5 minutes long or under, 420 or under, ideally. And
we haven't hit it yet, but we
have not. That's par for the course, So
we're hitting bogeys right now.
We're bogeys, yeah. We're shooting over, so maybe 1 or 2 over. So we gotta whittle it down. The idea is we want to be right to it, unlike what I'm doing right now, and that's why we have this podcast, to ramble. So that's why it's not to ramble, but to actually share the true shit that we're doing behind the scenes. And it's the raw stuff, because I think in this building phase, it's messy as hell. Like, we've edited multiple videos, Matt and I individually today alone. And, personally cranking out, recording. We're doing this interview here. There's a lot we're filling. So we have, a daily schedule. We have this podcast we release. We have an interview series we're doing with Blockchain Space called Blockchain Conversations, which are released once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it's just kind of madness. And then a community in Discord that everyone should be a part of at hardfork.gg/alpha. But I digress, Matt. What do you have? Because there's a lot happening. And
so
what you broke down.
What's really cool about the way we're doing this is, originally we were going to do it all in one shot, and then we were going to break it up into like the segments and then share those segments across Twitter, right? So every day, let's say there's 3 pieces of alpha, we were going to take the one longer 4-minute and 20-second piece, break it up into 3 pieces, and put each piece on Twitter as its own separate thing, so that the people mentioned ideally would retweet it, and it would help grow the community. That's kind of the bigger game plan. But the way that we're doing it now, it's actually really cool, because now we're actually making the individual clips and then tying them all together. So now we've got the individual clips to just post on Twitter. So today, literally, Joe posted one of the clips from today's episode before the actual episode went live, because the individual clips are already clipped out. So we're ready.
Do you want
to
me
go.
to walk through? I can walk through a day of like how that was done, because I think this is it's a cool project too. And it's an interesting thing. So this is such a cool space. I'm just going to like reflect for a second, because this podcast is amazing, and I got to shout out the folks who have reached out to us who currently work in Web3 in some fashion. And Shane, who works in Australia, his company was acquired by Animoca Brands, and they've been pumping out some cool stuff. So there's this project that works with the Australian Football League, the AFL, and it's called AFL Mint is the project name. And essentially, they're publishing kind of like Top Shots, like these packages of NFT cards of moments and players of Australian football. And it's really cool. Yeah, and I was looking into Australian football too, Matt. I was like, what are the differences with American football?
The accent.
NFL. The accent's one of them. Can you guess another? Let's talk about the game itself. Do you know some key differences?
I'm sure they don't wear nearly as many pads as the NFL players do.
Yeah, I actually don't remember a lot of them, but that's one of them. I believe the field is no, you know what? I'm mixing. No, you know what? I'm totally mixing the don't quote me on anything. Yeah, they definitely don't have pads though, or helmets. I noticed that. It's kind of like rugby. But yeah, it's
all the Australians that are listening to this podcast because they tuned in because James Shramko used to talk about us a lot more often.
They hate us now.
They're like, these guys are trying to talk about Australian rules football.
I never claimed.
Freaking it up. They're f***ing it up. And
big time.
Sorry, Aussies. Sorry.
We are extremely sorry.
Aussie. You're supposed to go, oi, oi, oi.
Oh, sorry. I was still reflecting upon oi, oi, oi.
Now they're even more offended. Half-hearted oi, oi, oi.
Oi,
oi, oi.
There we go.
There it is.
Let's edit that previous one out.
Nah.
Did I make up for it? Buffalo's on the other end of the house, probably wondering what the hell is he.
No, he's probably tuning in. He spies on us as we're doing our recordings.
It's creepy because we can't watch him do that.
Anyway, let's get back on the rails. You were about to break down a day in the life of setting up one of these videos.
Yes. So AFL is basically one of these mints that are going on, and it's actually happening at this recording, like right now or in a couple hours. And I noticed that this morning, knowing that we have this daily structure. So me thinking, okay, I got like a minute and a half that I can record about this mint. And the team over there at AFL Mint reached out and thanks for basically doing that, because that allows us to get in there. And AFL, this is the first time they've done some blockchain stuff. So kind of like NFL is doing something with what's it called? Rivals, NFL Rivals. Yeah. So a fantasy, sports NFT card kind of game. And I could see this AFL probably going that way, a lot of these sports. So I created a piece on that, published it. It published as a whole in this video that Matt was describing. So these 5-minute videos, these dailies. But my section was about a minute and a half, and that already got chopped up. I did the whole process myself, essentially reporting. Feels like a field reporter, I think is what Buffalo's been saying, is like we're all reporters. We have our own little story. We're doing our independent research, and it's pieced together as part of this bigger, story or this channel thing that's getting played. But the point is, it was posted on Twitter, tagged, and ideally Australia, AFL will go retweet the heck out of that video.
The whole country of Australia, ideally.
Well, everyone. Wow, that's a lot of retweets.
Yeah.
I'm not
James
asking for that
Schramko,
much.
Chris
But
Benetti. What are some of our other buddies? Shane.
Shane, yeah. And then that's the special shout out to Shane. He's the one that actually has been listening to the podcast for a long time and reached out and made this all happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all of you guys, get Australia tweeting. We just want the whole country tweeting.
Get everybody on board. AFL Mint is doing their thing. And yeah, so the Mint was today, or is today. It's in a couple of hours as this recording. And we got that video out, posted, and we feel like it created a lot of cool value. And like it's a fun video. And as part of the show that we're doing daily, it's this kind of like repurposable machine that we're creating here. Like Lego pieces is what we described it yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, so we were talking about some of the content frameworks a little bit earlier today too, and how we were actually creating the content. And I'll break down my process because our processes are a little bit different. And this is actually one of the things that makes this fun is we're all a little bit competitive, right? There's me, there's Joe, there's Buff. We're all here. We're all competitors. And it's like a healthy, fun, creative competition because we're all making these videos every day and we're all trying to like one up each other a little bit, right? Like we're trying to work in jokes to get the other ones to laugh. We're trying to work in like special effects in the videos, and we're trying to work in little Easter eggs to like entertain each other. But there's also that competitive of like, I want my video to be the most shared video and that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of led us to start to develop our own little styles. Like when you watch one of these videos, there's a clear distinction between like, this is the video that Joe made, this is the one Matt made, this is the one Buff made, and you could see the style differences. And so it's like, it's this really cool kind of competitive, but also every time you watch a video, you're going to get this like mesh of styles, and it's really fun. But the point being, we all have different creative processes for how we're creating this stuff. For me, the way I've been doing it is I do 100% of the scripting ahead of time, right? So I go and find my alpha. Maybe it started with a tweet. Maybe I came across a news article, and I start with that. And then what I'll do is I'll actually take chunks from the articles that I'm reading, pull them into my notes, organize them in a way that feels coherent, and then start clearing stuff out until it reads like a script, and I get rid of all of the fluff, and it's just, here's the points that I want to make in this video. So then when I get it all the way down to like, this is just the meat of what I want to share, now it's a little dry, right? So I'll see if there's like any little comedic elements or jokes that I can tell in there that make sense to make the video a little bit more funny. And now I've got a script, and I go and just record the audio of the script. Don't think about video at all. I actually do record my video too when I'm recording my script, but I haven't actually used the video yet. I just have it in case I want to use it in a video.
Nice.
But as I'm reading my script, I'm recording the audio in the video. I take the audio, and then once I have the audio, then I go and start collecting B-roll. And the B-roll might be, me recording, scrolling their website. The B-roll might be videos that I scraped from the Twitter account of the project I'm talking about. The B-roll might be a video that I made of me playing the game, or if I haven't played the game yet, I might go find another YouTuber who's played the game and take a little chunk of their video of them playing the game and overlay it. Or we might take some B-roll from story blocks or motion array, and I just start overlaying all the B-roll. Once that's all done, I go and find music that I feel like fits the sort of theme of what we're talking about, toss the music in there, and that's how I do like my little piece of the video. And I know Joe has similar processes, but there's some like nuanced differences, and you even got like a little formula that you've been working through.
I do. I would say the structure of how that is captured, like you just described, is pretty much the same. Yeah, starting with the audio is definitely key to build off from the editing side of things. And what's really cool with this format is that we're not really recording ourselves so much on camera purposely, like hey, stare at the camera during this whole segment. Like the point's not for it to be about us. And that's why we're setting it up initially before these segments. We'll record all together, and then we kind of do these audios and voice it out with a script, like Matt said. So scripting is definitely the best way to go, Matt. I mean, I'm going to agree. So I've been trying all the different formats. The very first video I did was pure script, and it was amazing. It was the Defy video I did yesterday. And then there was a second video about AFL. It was kind of hybrid. It was scripted, but then it was bullet pointed with this framework I'll share. And then a MotoGP one was a lot more just straight up bullet pointed and kind of on the fly, but will be editing the thing tighter because everything's been captured. So I don't know what's going to win out in the long run. Maybe in aggregate, I'll look at my time spent on this thing. But yeah, so this formula I've been kind of using for scripting content in general. It's always been working. I've shouted it out before, I think. Travis Houston, a buddy of ours who may or may not be listening, he does occasionally. It's the why, what, how, now is the formula that I remember it. I think, Matt, you remember it slightly different. I think the first, it's why, what, how, now. I'm not going to confuse anybody. Basically, the formula I'm using roughly follows, all right, what's the big idea? Like, what is the thing that we're talking about here? And for example, the Defy video I recorded the first day is kind of like the Pokemon Go of crypto, is how I described it. And because it's this move to earn concept where you use your cell phone or your mobile device, and you can also eventually use augmented reality with your phone to battle things flying around and hack things to essentially play this game. Point being is that's kind of like the big idea that I led with, and then it had some events and things to follow. So that was the what section. Then it quickly transitioned to the how, and then that's basically where it describes like what's the website, what are the dates that you got to know, where do you got to go, what are some other details to do this thing or to take part in this event, and then closing it off with why is this thing, or establishing and anchoring why is this thing so important to take advantage of or make a move right now. And in the case of some of these games like the AFL Mint one, it's like I think it had 3,800 packs available for this allow list. So that's like a week or so before the public gets access to this. It's the first mint that the AFL has ever done. So the point being is there's scarcity built in, and that's kind of like the why and the call to action all in one. So the why, how, or sorry, scratch that. the just to recap what the formula, it's the what, how, and the why with the call to action in there.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's like a real easy framework for when you're just gathering all of this sort of alpha from all over the place. Because a lot of times, you know, we're like, ooh, there's some big news around this game. And we might end up having like 10 articles what we're reading about the game. And we're like, oh my God, what do I share? We're trying to make a 4-minute and 20-second video. You know, that's the main goal. How do I get all this information into a minute? Right. And then you look at a formula like that and it's just like, okay, cool. Let's just pull out these details from all of this articles. And so like that just kind of brings the simplicity in. You know, a little trick that I've been using was like, if there's a press release about something, I'll just pull in the press release and then just like reword it into like something that sounds more like a spoken script, and then take some video. Because a lot of times those press releases are already kind of stripped of most of the fluff, right? I can usually strip a little extra fluff out of there, add a few little goofs in there, and call it a day and have a good script.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not newsjacking, because that's a whole different kind of meaning there, but you're using a piece of content that basically has the meat and potatoes, like the basics of the thing, and then you can add your bells and whistles or whatever humor editing chops on top of that.
And it's press releases, right? So they're designed to be copied and reused over and over and over again, right?
You know what it is? It's art, Matt. That's art.
It's all art. Everything is art.
The best artists steal, right?
That's true.
They wrote a whole book on it.
I do feel like with what we're doing now, though, we're really tapping into the creative side. I feel like the editing has become the art form, right?
It is.
Getting into DaVinci and figuring out like exactly where to make the cuts and what transitions to use and where to overlay text and where to add images and what B-roll to use to get like maybe a chuckle. Like that has become really, really fun. And I do feel like we're tapping into like I feel like I'm doing creative work again instead of like
we are
running ads and doing very like data driven work.
Yeah. And we're definitely still running ads and using data to drive our decisions in our content creation. I mean, that is why we actually went to this model, because it's a lot of based off of data and what you've brought to our tables, collective tables. And about like algorithm, like in YouTube, for instance, our whole idea is, okay, from everything we've understand of the algorithm on YouTube is give it more input, like give it more content at a higher frequency, because the more showing more energy we're putting into this system. And the idea is that we're going to bring our subscribers, our people, to their platform more often. Watch time goes higher. across the board. And ideally, it's going to, we'll get some more organic views from YouTube in addition to the advertising you're running on some videos as well. So it's helping yeah, man, I think it's a cool model on the Twitter side of things. Like you said, we can piece out these videos and we're tagging projects. A lot of these projects love to share this stuff because it's just content they haven't been able to create themselves. They're maybe perspectives that we have that they don't have or whatever. Point being is we're helping them a lot around a key event on the roadmap. So that's kind of what we're building ourselves a system around.
Faux show.
Yeah, that's all I got, Matt. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think we covered everything we really wanted to cover. We kind of knew this was going to be a bit shorter of an episode today. In fact, a lot of future episodes will probably be a little bit shorter because what we're focused on with Hustle and Flowchart is really just giving you behind the scenes. We're not doing as many interviews with digital marketers anymore. The interviews we're doing are more on our blockchain conversations show where we're deep diving with people in the Web3 and the gaming space. And so with Hustle and Flowchart, since we're not doing those interviews, we're like, what value can we provide to the audience that might still be hanging out with us across all of these transitions we've made? And we feel like the best value we can give is sharing what's going on behind the scenes of Hard Fork. Like, share the journey. That's always been one of our mottos, is just, document the journey, share the journey with people. And that's kind of what Hustle and Flowchart's transitioning into. Is we're building this business over here that we truly believe can be like $100 million business one day, like this massive empire, if we want to get it there. We're still always kind of in that debate of, do we want to be a monster corporation and have tons of money, but be like having to run a monster corporation? Or do we want to keep that lifestyle freedom and just kind of, do what we got to do to make what we want to make?
The more and more I lean towards lifestyle.
Yeah. I think we tend to lean more towards the later, but we do see this becoming a really, really big company, and we're doing marketing in a way that I don't believe most people talking about digital marketing are doing it. We're not going really that traditional internet marketer, digital marketer approach anymore. We're now focused more on what they're doing in Web3 and what the creator economies are doing, what the Mr. Beasts and the Colin and Samirs and the Casey Neistats of the world, like the way they've grown. I feel like we've transitioned into really paying attention to that stuff and then what's going on in Web3 and a lot of the old digital marketing, Google Ads, SEO, a lot of that kind of stuff. While we are still doing it to kind of grow this new business, it's not really where our focuses lie anymore. So all that being said, all that long ramble to say, Hustle and Flowchart is becoming more behind the scenes because I honestly think that's the best way we can add value to our listeners is just share the journey, share the mistakes, share the wins, share what's worked and what hasn't.
I agree, man. Yeah, and this is going to help everyone, if you're in the space of Web3 building some stuff, or if you're not, it's all good. You'll learn about some interesting stuff that we're experimenting with. Not only our own internal projects, but a lot of the projects we're chatting with, and definitely these dailies. Go take a peek at, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, Hard Fork on YouTube, Hard Fork Gaming, that is, on YouTube. And then, of course, you know where to find us at this point. All the links are below in the descriptions of wherever you're listening or watching this. You'll be listening to this because we're not releasing a video. I always forget that, Matt, because we're looking at ourselves. We're in this nice stage, but we don't show everybody the stage.